A case that echoed throughout the whole country is basically the Ketan Agarwal's murder case. Hi, this is Architect Sivaram. Hope you are doing great. So, it all started with the death of Ketan Agarwal. Okay, so first, who is this Ketan Agarwal? So, Ketan Agarwal is a 26-year-old businessman from Pune, Maharashtra, India. So, we have one more person. So, that is basically Ketan's fiance, that is Sia or Sia Goel. That's her full name. Right. So, we have these two people. Okay. So, these two people are supposed to get married. So, basically, the families of these two people are in the process to make them get married. So that's all was happening during that time. But suddenly, Ketan Agarwal died. Where did he die? Basically, there is a fort called Lohagarh Fort. So it's a very famous fort in Maharashtra. So from there, at a lonely spot, Ketan Agarwal was found dead in a deep gorge. So basically, he just fell from a far high cliff, so far into the pit. Basically, he was just falling too down, and I mean, he's dead. So he had severe head injuries, and the person was dead. Right. So initially, this whole thing, the death of Ketan Agarwal, was considered to be a casual accident. Basically, it's an unfortunate accident. That's how it was perceived at first. But later, a lot of suspicion arose due to a lot of unconventional behavior and attitude from his fiancée, that is Sia Goel. Okay, what happened? So, it is said that once the Ketan Agarwal accidentally fell down from that whole cliff in the Lohagarh fort, and suddenly Sia started shouting that Ketan just fell down the cliff, and people out there and volunteers just came, ran in, and they just went and tried to rescue the body and found him dead. Then the police inquiry happened at Ketan's home, and the whole family of Ketan's father, mother, sister, everybody were totally upset. They were totally dejected. Sia was also there crying at times when she had to cry. But when police started inquiring about things as to what happened, how it all happened, she was just answering everything perfectly, and she wanted to just proceed with whatever needed to happen at that point. So basically, she's crying at times where she had to cry, and then she's acting very normally and casually without any sense of nervousness, anxiety, or even a feeling of loss. She was just being completely normal. So this behavior just shook Ketan's sister, basically. So she clearly noticed Sia's unnatural behavior, right? So it's too unnatural. So suspicion arose, and once Ketan's sister had this suspicion, she discussed about this with Ketan's mother, and then they just started realizing the whole thing, that this is not the first time it happened. That is, Ketan and Sia have been to the Lohagarh fort multiple times. Basically, in the previous time when they went, the last time, what happened was Sia pushed Ketan into the gorge, the deep fall from a lonely spot. But Ketan just managed himself and saved his life by just holding on to some vegetation, and then he came out asking Sia, "Is that you trying to kill me?" But then Sia just said, "No, no, no, I just saw a snake, and then that's why I just pushed you away, but then you just fell into that pit. I just didn't realize that, sorry," and all that, blah, 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 whatever. She was trying to say basically a snake. So that's what happened. And then Ketan just trusted Sia back again, and again they went there. And this time Ketan was dead. Right. So the police investigation started. Right. So what is suspicious? So one thing is her behavior, like this unnatural behavior. But let's see what actually happened behind the scenes. The thing is, uh, the Ketan and Sia, these two couples, between them engagement happened. Okay, so that is something happened, and they were preparing for the wedding. But Sia was allegedly in a relationship with another person, that is Chetan Chowdhury. So this is a completely different guy. So that's Ketan Agarwal. This is Chetan Chowdhury. Okay, so this is something that was there. So police later claimed that these two people, Chetan and Sia, were in a regular contact. Okay, so that is something the police claimed. So what police claimed is basically this is a murder. This is a planned murder. This is not an accident. Why? So the police version of the thing is Sia and Chetan were in a relationship, and they wanted to eliminate Ketan Agarwal. Okay, so they actually planned this murder. But why? Like, if two people are loving each other, why should they actually try to kill the other person, right? Basically, the Ketan Agarwal. So that is her fiance. Why should they kill them? They could just go and tell straight to his face that we both love each other, so I couldn't marry you, or whatever they wanted to confess. They could just go tell that to him directly. But they actually didn't. Police say they actually didn't want to do that because they don't actually want to face any social or any cultural consequences over the place. That is basically what the family will think, what the society will think, and all that. So the thing is, Ketan comes from a very well-to-do family, while Chetan Chowdhury is not that great when compared to Ketan in terms of the economical status. So that might be one of the reasons. So they just tried to avoid, and they wanted to just eliminate Ketan for the sake of them living well together. So that is what police say. Okay, so police claim this as a murder because they have their own version of event after investigating. So what they allege is basically Chetan Chowdhury reached the Lohagarh fort separately. How do they know? Through CCTV footages. But the thing is, they were not able to see Chetan's face fully. He was wearing a hoodie, a face mask, headphone, and despite the hot weather on 18th June 2026 at Pune, you know, he was wearing a hoodie, which is unnatural. Like, who will wear a hoodie in that hot weather, right? That's something that he was doing. And yeah, he also left his mobile phone elsewhere with his colleague, I believe. Yeah, with his colleague to avoid location tracking. So this is all Chetan Chowdhury had done on his side to reach the Lohagarh fort. But he didn't communicate with Ketan and Sia. He was following these two people at a particular distance. So that's what police say. So that's one thing. So police allege that when Ketan was standing near the edge of the cliff, that is at the edge, Sia positioned herself at a predetermined spot. Okay? So what is that predetermined spot? Is basically, police also allege that these two people were in regular contact with each other, that is Sia and Chetan, for the past 6 months and even more, and especially before this incident happened, before this murder or this death happened. These two people, that is Sia and Chetan, met in a cafe. They met in a cafe and they were just talking to each other. We do not know what they talked about, but they met and they talked a lot. That's something there. Fine. So Sia positioned herself at a predetermined spot that they discussed or planned earlier, that police say. Then she gave the hand signal that was agreed between them. Then Chetan, who was reportedly hiding nearby as he was following them, he just came from behind and then he pushed Ketan into the deep gorge. So that's something that happened. And yeah, Sia was a little away, basically from Ketan's reach, because while he was falling, he should not reach to Sia, right? Or else both will fall down. It will be funny thing. So yeah, so she was a bit away. So that this is the police allegation. It's from their side, but it has not been proved yet. This is what police allege, right? So yeah, after the fall, like most people at the scene were panicking and they were trying to help. And one rescuer claimed that Sia appeared unnaturally calm. Everybody was nervous, but Sia was just so calm, right? So that's something one rescuer stated, which became an important part of the investigation of the police. This is not a witness account, nor a proof of guilt, but this is something that counts, that's all. So, why police became suspicious is basically the CCTV footage which showed that hoodie guy coming in, and the digital evidence and the location data that did not fit the actual accident theory. That is basically Chetan's phone was elsewhere, and like he switched off his phone for a certain amount of time during the incident happening. So this is also one of the suspicious activity from Chetan's side, right? So how police actually cracked this case? So one thing is all the CCTV, then comes the phone records. The phone records revealed extensive contact between Sia and Chetan Chaudhary. So what is that? So it's basically over the previous 6 months, the two had exchanged 2004 phone calls. Wow, 2004 phone calls over 6 months, basically let's say 180 days. It's around 10, more than 10 phone calls a day. So that is insane. And they had spoken for a total of approximately 238 hours. Wow. Investigators say that this pattern of communication supported their theory that the crime had been pre-planned over a long period of time rather than being spontaneous. It's not something that happened accidentally, so it has been a pre-planned thing. Then the internet searches, that comes under the digital evidence. So according to the police forensic information of the accused mobile phones, that is basically the Sia and Chetan's mobile phones, the internet searches revealed about methods of killing a person, ways of killing a person, okay? And these searches are few days before Ketan's actual death happened. That's basically before 18th June, a few days before. And these things were also being deleted, so that was also there. So investigators treat these searches as evidence of alleged premeditation. That is basically, this is something which adds to the pre-planned event of this murder, if it is so. So you might ask, okay, what is this, Sivaram? We're just telling, is this a murder? Is this an accident? Why are you using this if? So the thing is, we have this thing. Even like 1,000 accused can escape, but no innocent person should be punished. So our country has this thing. Everyone or anyone who has been accused of anything is innocent until proven guilty. Okay, so yeah, everything has to be proved. Only then any action could be taken. Because in the past, many even happened like. There are like innocent people who are there in the jail for years, but after like say 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, the court comes to know that that person was innocent. There was no mistake on his side. Imagine, it is basically a very big thing, right? A whole life of a person is lost and spoiled due to a wrong judgment. So that's something the court doesn't want. That's how our whole law has been done, which is really good. So yeah, we don't want that. So everyone is innocent until they are proven guilty. So that is something there. Okay, so let's just continue with this whole thing. So earlier incidents that came under scrutiny, that is basically Sia had previously persuaded Ketan to the Lohagarh fort multiple times. Like she wanted to go with him there for a lot of reasons, like for his birthday, like they want to go for a casual visit or whatever. They went there multiple times, and in one of the time, basically she tried to push him, and then he saved his life. But then at the end, somehow he's dead. We do not know how. So police concluded that the final visit was allegedly the attempt that actually succeeded and which led to the Ketan Agarwal's murder. Right. So police actually arrested Sia Goyal on charges including murder and criminal conspiracy. Also Chetan Chaudhary on the same allegations. So both were produced before a magistrate and remanded to police custody for further investigation. The accused have the right to defend themselves. They obviously have, and the case remains pending before the courts. Like Sia's parents, right? They at the beginning when this news came out, they said like if my daughter is somehow proven guilty for this case, so the court should actually order to push my daughter Sia down from the same cliff as how Ketan was pushed down, right? So that's what Sia's parents said. But later, after a few days, they started asking, did she actually commit it? How can you prove it? Like, is there any proof? And they started to ask those things later on. So that is also there. Anyway, so now let's go. Let's go and see what happened after the arrests and where the case stands right now. So that's something that we need to know. So we have this police interrogation. So during the prosecution, the police actually found a lot of things. The first thing is deleted WhatsApp chats. Like everything was wiped out between Sia and Chetan Chaudhary's chats in WhatsApp, and they also examined the mobile phone's data, backups, CCTV footages from multiple locations, Google search history, call detail records, and financial transaction, along with travel records. So deleted chats were partially recovered to a certain extent. So where they actually found out that Sia and Chetan used a lot of nicknames. They used nicknames and coded languages. They didn't want to communicate anything directly. They had a lot of codified languages or codified words to communicate certain things. So this is what they actually found from the recovered chats. So that's one thing. So these things support that their allegation is true. That is, this is basically a pre-planned murder. It's not an accidental death. So police also asked for a narco test, basically a narcotic test, but court actually denied the permission because the court stated that this particular test, this narco analytic test cannot be conducted without the consent of the accused. That is the consent of Sia and Chetan Chowdhury. Because it's in line with Indian law and Supreme Court precedent. So it cannot be done just from a request from police side. So that is there. So as a result, the investigators had to rely on the physical, digital, and the forensic evidences. Then comes one more thing, that is basically Ketan Agarwal's missing passport. The thing is, an incident happened where Ketan had to go away from the country, but then somehow at the last minute his passport was lost. Basically, Sia and Ketan came to the airport through a cab, I believe. But once they reached the airport, Ketan couldn't find his passport. Then he just called the taxi driver and asked him, "Did you take my passport?" and everything. He said, "Why should I take your passport? What do I want to do with it?" Right? So he didn't take, but somehow it vanished. Police alleged that Sia somehow, took that passport and destroyed it by some means, so that they don't go abroad for any vacation. So they want to murder him. So that's why she did it. So this is from police side. And now comes the judicial custody. So after the police custody ended, Sia Goyal and Chetan Chowdhury were remanded to judicial custody at Yerawada Central Prison. Okay, so this is the current thing. And this is there. And right now the thing is, the family demanded faster trial. That is basically Ketan's father. He's a very influential man, but still he wrote a letter to our Honorable President Draupadi Murmu ma'am, and Ketan's mother wrote a mail to our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, not seeking anything but just seeking justice, and not to treat this case as one more file in the court. So they asked for a fast track court, basically, so that this whole thing happens a lot faster, or else if time just flies away, I mean, everything might get delayed. So they want a faster justice. So that's what is from the side of Ketan's family. So that is there. And what do you think? Do you think is this actually an accident? Maybe it could be an accident. We do not know. Maybe Sia and Chetan planned all these things, and somehow they went there, and suddenly Ketan fell away accidentally. Maybe they didn't kill. We do not know. Or it could also be the planned murder. Maybe all that we discussed could have happened. So what do you think from all these evidences and information about this case? Comment down below. I would be very much interested to read all these things. So yeah, so that's it for today's video, and share it with your friend. Thank you for watching. See you guys in the next video. And before leaving, I read a lot of things in internet like, oh, women are like this, oh, we have to be safe and all that. Come on. So let's say Sia murdered Ketan. I mean, that doesn't define women in any way. That is just one person's fault, one person's tragic mistake. How can that determine the entire women? No, it cannot determine that. So that's just something which is out of sense. It's totally out of sense. So please don't think that way. It's just one person's fault, and we actually don't know what happened, right? So yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.